Welcome, Drink with James, episode 184. I am going to have a little bit of a Scrooge moment here. I saw yesterday that Department of Transportation or some shit is going to stop letting people bring their animals on flights claiming they're emotional support animals. And I am fucking thrilled. I hate, what is worse for me? I know there's a lot of animal lovers out there, right? Animals are fine. I like an animal. I like to pet an animal. I'll throw a frisbee or ball to it. I'll pet a fucking cat any day. Do I want that stinky, disgusting beast sitting next to me on a 6-hour flight to San Francisco with altitude-induced gas? No, I don't. I already have to deal with the animals that are sitting around me that are human. I do not want an animal sitting next to me. And I generally, I think in reading the article about this, I'm just going to go off on this for a second. In reading the article, they were saying, there are people that have disabilities that need to travel with animals. And the people abusing the system to travel with their pet because they just want to are making it harder for those people that have a disability to be taken seriously. And they're kind of just ruining it for everyone, essentially. And I've always found it, and I'm going to get so much shit from pet owners, and honestly, I don't really care. But I've always found it so selfish for a lot of people that it was clear that that was not an emotional support animal, that you just felt like traveling with your dog, which is fine, I understand that. But cool, now I, who didn't elect to travel with your dog, am traveling with your fucking dog. You know? That's bullshit. I mean, I had a friend, she's sitting on a plane, she's got her drink, she looks down, fucking golden retriever's drinking her drink. That's not okay. She's like, what the hell? And he's like, oh, what am I supposed to do? I don't know. Don't bring your fucking dog on the plane. That's what you can do. So I, for one, think that Donald Trump is a goddamn abomination that should be wiped from this earth as soon as humanly possible. And his administration is heartless bastards that I am working every day to try and replace. But this time I feel like they got it right. You gotta give credit where credit is due. And I feel this is the first thing since he has taken office where I'm I applaud you, sir. Well, he didn't, I applaud the administration. And I look forward to flying without any fluffy little friends sitting next to me, drooling on me, and drinking my mediocre drinks. So cheers to that. Question number 1, why am I getting usage bans if I'm not using any sketchy services? So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can use Instagram so much that it locks you out. It's never happened to me, but there is apparently it's a level you can get to at Instagram where they lock you out from being able to like and comment. So we looked up what would cause this to happen. And so a few things. One, Instagram has trusted accounts and accounts that they don't trust yet. Most of that is how much time you've been on the platform. So in the first 6 months, you can do less liking, engaging. That makes sense because they're trying to combat people that are, bot farms, spinning up new accounts and doing a lot of engaging with them. That's how, when people buy likes, that's kind of how it gets taken care of. And so that is, for the first 6 months, they kind of restrict what you can do. Once you're a trusted account, which I assume most of you all are at this point. So you can like and follow about 1,000 times a day. It's got to be intervals of 28 to 36 seconds. I think essentially what Instagram's trying to do here is I'm sure they looked at the average amount of time between likes for people. It would be, I think they're trying to combat you from liking every post in your feed, right? That is not normal behavior. Excuse me. That is not normal behavior to like every post in your feed. And so, if it takes you 2 or 3 seconds each post, let's say let's say it takes you 3 seconds. You're looking at, liking every 10, 15th post to kind of stay within their guidelines. So likes 1 every 28 to 36 seconds, 1,000 in a given 24 hours. Follows, same things. Comments, it's 12 to 14 comments within an hour with a 350 to 400 second break. We'll put this up in some graphics somewhere, and maybe we should do an FYI on it, just because I wasn't privy to this information before. Instagram knows that people are, 1, buying likes and it's trying to combat bots, but 2, using services to get people, to like go out and do fake engagement to try and drive traffic to your feed and get new followers. If you're being pinged for excessive usage, I would question why you are engaging that much. I would have a hard time believing that you're not engaging for the purpose of gaining a following. I've said it many times before that like you can't hack your way to success in life in general. I think you can hack your way into some short-term gains. You can do a giveaway. You can go out and do a bunch of engagement and drive, interest and traffic to your page and get more followers. Like that stuff does work in the short term. You are never going to build a brand. If you think of yourself as a brand, you're never going to build a brand or a business on hacks. Like that's just not the way businesses and brands are built. They're built over years. They're built by putting a lot of care and thought into it. They're built by, providing value in every single interaction you have with those followers. And so there is a temptation to look for the hacks because we don't want to do the hard work of providing something that people really want. But that's the key. And if there's one thing I feel like I've beat the drum on in this show over the last few years, it's that like, if you can find that thing, if you can find the thing that people want and they will seek you out for and they will share with their friends what you're doing, that is the key to success. Like that is the only thing that you should be chasing, is that thing, is that, product market fit, is that, the content that you're putting into the world has people sitting at drinks with their friends talking about it, saying, you got to follow this person. You've heard of this person? They're amazing. Has their friends DMing, has people DMing your post to their friends saying, did you see this? You got to follow this person. They're incredible. Like that's, if you really want to be successful, like that's what it has to be. I think over 50% of our business here at Four is from referrals. It's because we spend all of our time and all of the extra money that we have providing an incredible service, building technology that we feel is unique and helpful, and we don't have any marketing budget. You're fucking looking at it. This is the marketing budget, is like my whiskey, essentially. We don't spend any money on marketing because our hope is that we will we build products that people want. We, provide those products and services that we have, provide value, and then people talk about them, and that has worked. We make millions and millions of dollars a year off people saying, hey, you should hit up Four. Now, I would say with referrals and return business and inbound requests, that's 95% of our business. So how do you do that? You do that by building a brand, by being consistent, by providing value, by focusing not on how can I grow, but how can I create something so good that it will naturally grow. And that is what you should be spending your time on, not I need to engage 2 hours a day on Instagram, right? Because you're never going to get the hockey stick that you're looking for. Hockey stick is a way to talk about growth, right? If normally things grow like this in a kind of static line, a hockey stick, goes up really fast. In startup world, that's what you're looking for, is a hockey stick. And you got to find your hockey stick as well. Teza, when I met her, had 150,000 followers a year and a half, 2 years later, she had 500,000. That's hockey stick growth, right? That's finding something that people really, really connect with on an emotional and like high level, and doing it over and over and over and over and over again. There's no hacks there, you know? And it's honestly sometimes how and why when influencers come on the show, I feel like sometimes those episodes are less helpful than other ones because they don't have hacks. You know, they don't have little tips or tricks or, oh, I did this thing and it totally changed what I did. They just found a formula that worked and they kept doing it over and over and over and over again, right? And you can't teach that. You can't like talk about that. You can't say like, oh, I don't know, like, yeah, go find a product, your product's your content in this case, that people want. And then like you get a following. Like that's every person on Drink with James that's been on as an influencer. That's the advice they have. And speaking of growing, let's go on to number 2. Question number 2 is, what is considered a good growth rate for an influencer? So yeah, let's talk about growing your following, right? Like this is probably why you guys are watching this show. You want to grow a following. But there's a misconception about follower growth on Instagram. Over half of our platform, 90,000 influencers, over half of them are losing followers month over month. I'll say it again. Over half of the people on the platform lose followers month over month. So if you're gaining 20 followers a month, you're doing better than half the people that we have on the platform, which is at 100,000 people is a pretty good representation of the influencer space in general. When you look at the growth percentages for a year, they're pretty consistent. Obviously, micro influencers are growing a bit faster than macro influencers. That makes sense because of the scale. We look at percentages. So the average percentage is around 7 or 8%, okay? So if you've got 10,000 followers, that would be gaining 700. Not much, that's average, right? Like people on average are just not growing their following right now. It's really, really hard. And it's why I say not to focus on the hacks, because if a hack can get you from 7% to 10%, fine. You gained 1,000 followers in that year instead of 700. That's valuable, right? But if finding the thing that people can connect with, that can change your life. When we had Jamie Beck on the show years ago, Jamie hadn't grown in years. She was at 120,000 followers for literally years. Never grew. She was always an incredible photographer. And this was after she moved to France. She'd been living in France for a year already, creating this like fairy tale world. And then she really, she started doing her self-portraits and like really started focusing on that. And she's at 250,000 followers now, like a year and a half later. She's probably, almost doubled her following in 18 months, right? And so it's like, that's what you're looking for. It took her years to find it. It took her years of experimentation to find it. But when she found something people were connecting with, she went really hard into it. And so I think you just, you have to make sure you're focused on the right things. And I really believe the right thing to focus on is your audience and trying to figure out what they want. And if you can please them and keep them happy, I always say, maybe don't focus on getting your next follower, but focus on making sure the last person that followed you is happy. Make sure they are getting value, because it's like in your life when a big life event happens, right? I wanted to get a raise for 6 months and you finally get it. And like a month after, you're kind of like, you've forgotten about it, right? It's like not special. Or we have this problem all the time at 4 that like we have such big goals and when we hit them, maybe it's a month or 2 after I wanted, or maybe it's 10% less than we thought we would do. And so you just don't celebrate it, right? It's still a big goal. We made more money today than we made the first 2 years in business, right? I'm not really celebrating that because you are like focused too much on growth. You're focused too much on like the next thing. And with your followers, I think it's so valuable to just ask yourself, instead of how do I get the next follower, but that person who just followed me 5 minutes ago, what am I doing to make sure that they stay? Because there's a good chance they'll leave. So that's enough about follower growth. Last question is, are brands' expectations becoming too unrealistic? And a kind of sub question is how do influencers navigate what's appropriate deliverable in exchange for a non-monetary exchange. So are brands' expectations unrealistic? And how do you know what to give a brand as far as a deliverable if they're not paying you? So let's try and keep this brief because I think I'm already going long today. I was on a whole dog rant and then on a whole nother rant. So I absolutely see brands that are trying to take advantage of influencers, that they're out there trying to, they're doing a spray and pray thing. They're offering really low rates to influencers, and they say, if I send 1,000 emails out and 100 people accept it, and I'm paying 20% of what I should, that's a good deal for me. I do think there's some of that going on, like predatory offers from brands that I hate, and it's something that Four really prides itself in not doing. I think more often than not, it's a lack of education about what is normal. And if a brand comes at you with ridiculous requests for a low amount of money, or their requests and their budget don't line up, don't immediately go to a place of anger. I know it is a bit of a slap in the face, but I think if you operate under the assumption that like maybe they don't know what normal is, and this could be a teaching moment, you don't want to speak down to a potential client, but I think you do want to, explain why you can't work at that rate. We sometimes get responses back from influencers or their managers that, we offer $4,000 and they come back. Literally recently, we offered like $10,000 for a project and someone came back at $90,000. And it was like, it was a total fantasy. Like, it was delusional. It was definitely not, 10,000 was fair and even generous. 90,000 was fucking crazy. But they came back in a way that was just like, well, this is the rate for that. And there was no explanation, and I think that you can say like, thank you so much for the offer. I love the brand. I'm so excited to maybe be working on it. Unfortunately, the budget and the deliverables don't really match up. So let me explain how I charge, why I charge what I do, why I am, more effective than other influencers, and why, you should put the budget into me, and if you explain that, and if you're very honest and candid about it, and they're just like, well, this is the budget, I think they're probably one of those brands that are trying to go out and get something for cheap, and they don't actually care about a relationship. But you might be surprised when you reach out and you explain in a candid and like kind tone why you can't accept what they're offering, that they will work with you. And if nothing else, you leave that interaction and they feel good about it. They feel like you're a business person that understands their value, communicates it clearly, and maybe they're working at a brand that doesn't have budget, but maybe the next brand they go to does, and they say, I remember I wanted to work with this person and we didn't have budget, but they were like super nice about it, and I'm going to reach out to them. It happens all the time, and it is why you should try and leave every single client interaction, even if they're trying to stiff you, even if what they're offering you is crazy, try and leave them feeling good, because you might get a temporary boost, you might temporarily feel good about yourself for like telling someone off and being like, this is my job, this is my life. Like, how dare you offer me that money? You suck. Like, that feels good to say that sometimes because it is a little offensive to be offered a tenth of what you think you deserve. But now you have not gotten the money, which you weren't going to get anyway, and you've pissed someone off and made them feel stupid. So like, cool, you're not getting paid, and now you've taken somebody and like turned them against you. You know, like you could leave that interaction by not getting paid and having someone that actually feels really good about you, and who will remember that interaction and maybe in a year comes back and has budget. It happens literally to us every single day with brands that couldn't afford to work with Four, and then they, you know, we respect them like any other brand, and you know, are kind, and then a year later they say, hey, I got a new job, I got budget, let's go. So I would keep that in mind. As far as, you know, what's an appropriate deliverable if they're not paying you, that's gut. You know, that's what you want. If you really want to work with the brand, then maybe you're willing to do more. I think you got to find your happy place. You got to find a deal that you feel good about. Try, you know, before you send the email saying what you're going to do, try and put yourself into the position of posting that photo that day, you know, of doing the shoot, of creating the content. Are you going to be resentful when you do that? Are you gonna feel like, shit, I should have never taken this. I don't even really like these shoes, or handbag or couch or whatever the hell you're taking. Put yourself in that position and ask, the day I'm going to create this content and post it, will this be enough? And make sure that you feel good about that and stick to it. It'll be better for you. It's better for the brand. It's certainly better for your audience. So that felt like kind of a long one. So we're gonna say au revoir and see you next week.